Up as we continue here with our regular crew. The Bussin' guys are here, Hawk and Shefty and Dan Orlovsky, and we have plenty of football conversation to get to this morning. And obviously our intention was to show you all the great highlights from the NBA last night, but we have major breaking news around us this morning, and it comes from the NBA. And here is what we know. Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier have both been arrested as part of FBI investigations into sports gambling. Billups' arrest was part of a separate case, but it was related, linked to an illegal poker operation tied to the mafia. That, according to reporting from ABC News. At the core of Rozier's arrest is a game from March of 2023 that saw an uptake of Rozier bets coming in on the under. Rozier left that game just 9 minutes in, citing a foot injury. He had previously not been accused of any wrongdoing. Shams was all over this story, as you might expect, as are others. Shams will join us in about 15 minutes with the very latest, and we are efforting further information from our NBA reporters and others. As soon as there is any further information that we can bring you responsibly, we will do so as quickly as possible. In the meantime, Week 8 in the NFL season begins tonight, and so let us take a look around the league here at some opening statements. Gentlemen, let's get our opening statements started here. Who's first up? Dallas Cowboys.
I'll go
Taylor,
first.
go.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. I like the Dallas Cowboys. You put on the film, and you don't just see two high, 96% zone. You see single high. You see deception, deceit. You see blitzes coming from depth. Hell, we even saw a pick six. So I have cautious optimism for the Dallas Cowboys fans. If they're able to do that again this week, I'm ready to call them contenders.
All right, the Cowboys, a big game in Denver. Dan, next.
Yeah, the Indianapolis Colts absolutely matter in the AFC, and everyone's going to point to a lot of the different reasons why. Their defense is as schematically creative as anybody going right now. The offense, Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, playing big-time football. But this defensive coordinator that they have is the guy that actually stopped the Kansas City Chiefs years ago in the playoffs. Lou Anarumo, 2 times in the playoffs. The Chiefs only, with Patrick Mahomes, averaged 22 points a game versus him. That will play itself out in the playoffs.
Hawk, you're next. Bold prediction.
How bold we want to go here, Greeny?
I want you to be bold.
All right. Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, upsets Josh Allen in the Buffalo field.
All
right. He's stepping in for Bryce Young. He's getting the throw to Ted McMillan. And my forever quarterback is going to go vintage. I'm talking 2013 Andy Dalton. And he is going to ball out and have the entire world talking about the Carolina Panthers.
If so, the entire world is going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
we're going to need to have a conversation about them. Compton, give me a bold statement.
Mac Jones, look, we all understand what's happening in San Francisco and how well Kyle Shanahan has coached this football team, and I just want to highlight Mac Jones, the way he's operated on the field, off the field, the way he handles pressers, conversations around him as a starting quarterback. This man is raising his value, raising his stock. I know the Niners have him there for 2 years, but to 31 other teams, at some point in his future, he will be a starting quarterback again in the NFL.
An absolute illustration of the value of elite coaching in the NFL. Gesundheit. All right, and then so we got that. We got young quarterbacks getting it going, and then we got the old guy, the old gunslinger in Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. This is the game that the entire league has had circled since the moment he arrived in Pittsburgh. They host the Packers on Sunday night. You don't need me to tell you Rodgers played 18 years there, won 4 MVPs in a Super Bowl. Like his predecessor, Brett Favre, he was traded as the team built a quarterback succession plan. So he was asked yesterday about revenge.
I don't have any animosity toward the organization. Obviously, I wish that, things have been better in our last year there, but, I have a great relationship with a lot of people still in that organization. And this is not a revenge game for me. I'm just excited to see some of those guys and be on Sunday Night Football again.
To be clear, I like Aaron. I'm rooting for Aaron. I don't believe one word of that. This is the grudge match of all grudge matches. This is a man who, easily aggrieved? I mean, he does not, he gets aggravated easily, right? He wanted to beat the Jets desperately after 2 years there and the way things ended. After the way this ended, after he had one of the greatest careers of all time.
400 yards.
That's what this is really about, right?
We're Aaron Rodgers?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, this guy wants to throw for 400 yards, put up 40 points, and blow the Packers out and walk away with that smile on his face that I've seen for 2 decades going, I should still be there. I don't believe anything that he said.
We get one of these every week now. Last week it was Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. And it's not a big deal going in. Nobody thinks anything of it. It's just another game. But it's not really another game. We know that. We've seen this before with every legendary quarterback. We saw Peyton Manning go up against the Colts. We saw Tom Brady go up against the Patriots. We saw Brett Favre go up against the Packers. Now we get the latest iteration of Aaron Rodgers going up against the Packers. And yes, the relationship did not end on a high note.
Yeah, this kind of believe him, though.
What does that mean?
I think he really hates the Jets. I think there's real hate there, as he pointed out. Like, wait a minute, we're not talking about the Jets here. I think he has love for the Green Bay Packers. They paid him $300 million. At 42, it's like
should have been 400.
Are they that bad?
No,
I genuinely think he believes that.
I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, they fired him. Right? We talk about Mike Vrabel and all that kind of stuff. Why was he mad at Tennessee? Because they fired him. And with these all-time great quarterbacks who are the faces of the franchise and everything, what the Packers ultimately did was they fired him. They said, we got someone new, we got someone better, we got someone cheaper, we got someone younger, and we are firing you and moving on in a different direction. And so I think in the same way as Vrabel and all the this is not a critical statement.
No.
I think Aaron Rodgers wants to win this game far more than he is suggesting, and I think that is a factor in the game, because you were telling me everyone in that locker room knows about it.
Everybody in that locker room. Ben Jones, he played for the Houston Texans, played there for about 6 years. He comes over to the Titans. Every single week, we would play the Houston Texans. It was different for him. It was different for the offensive line. It was different for everybody around him. When we won the game, we cheered for Ben. When we lost the game, we patted him on the shoulder, said, buddy, sorry, we'll get him next time. That is...
And Ben Jones also had love for Houston.
Yes, towards the end, absolutely. But you talk about Aaron Rodgers and believing him, like, unless he had an epiphany a week ago, like, he was ready to fight his left tackle after he tackled him.
That's different.
Like, he's looking at him like, what are you? Aaron Rodgers knows he's a frail man, and his left tackle came out, he was ready to swing.
As a 40-year-old with bad joints, if you tackle me, I hate you way more than if you play for.
And so I think, listen, he can have love for the Packers. He can look back at that. He's been at the Jets now and think, okay, like, let bygones be bygones. But when it comes to Sunday, he is going to go off. He wants to throw for 400. He wants to have a career day.
I'm sure there are a lot of people in that organization that he does have love for. But I can assure you there are other people in that organization that he doesn't have love for.
We've gotten to listen to him for the last few years in the media. Like, this dude creates a chip on his shoulder any way he possibly can.
The best competitors do.
Yeah, he's seeing this game as like a Super Bowl and also a therapy session. And he is going to need to throw for 400. The way the Steelers' defense has been playing, he's going to have a massive game.
There's actually a bigger picture conversation to be had here about how it's almost impossible for these things to end well. I mean, very, very few all-time great players play. The Dirk Nowitzkis and the Kobes and the Derek Jeters who play their whole careers in one place, all that. That's a rarity in sports today for a million different reasons. So Rodgers goes up against the Packers. You see the picks on the screen. Dan, you were telling us earlier this morning you were picking Green Bay because the single most important player on the field on Sunday night will not be Aaron Rodgers.
No, it'll be Micah. And if you're the Steelers offense, you have to treat Micah Parsons the way that they treated Myles Garrett a couple weeks ago. Myles Garrett didn't impact that game. It was probably the least impactful game he had all this season. For the Steelers offense, it's going to be about Micah and the time. You know, Aaron throws the ball about third fastest in the NFL right now, and Micah's pass rush is one of the winningest time-wise pass rushes in the NFL. Like, if Aaron's going to hold the ball to 3 seconds, this game is going to play itself out in many ways in favor of Green Bay. The challenge is everybody else opposite Micah at times. You know, if you want to double team Micah, then that's going to give a player like a Rashawn Gary the opportunity to win one-on-ones. Football is always going to be about math. And if you dedicate 2, well, then there's 3 one-on-ones opposite that. And so that'll be interesting to see how Pittsburgh handles it, because Aaron throws the ball on average about 2.6 seconds out of his hands. That's the 3rd fastest in the NFL, okay? It's also the shortest when it comes to depth of target. If he holds the ball for just a little bit longer, and that's what this Green Bay defense kind of wants you to do, is just hold it for a fraction of a second longer, Micah could have a massive, massive Sunday night.
Calvin Austin is going to be a difference maker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If by no other reason, he's going to give them another option. They need help on the outside, but him being back on the lineup is actually going to help Aaron get the ball out of his hands, because they've relied too heavily on DK at the wide receiver and also way too much on the tight ends. From Hayward to Washington to Freiermuth, Calvin Austin gives them the ability to be a catch-and-run guy.
I like their tight ends in the way
they're great, but I'm saying they're using them too much because they don't have it at wide receiver. That's why they're having to rely on
I'm glad you make that point. Shefty, we are approaching the trade deadline, and I think Pittsburgh wide receiver is one of the places people are pointing at as a significant need.
Well, listen, I think that they have to be monitoring the wide receiver market, and I expect them to be monitoring the wide receiver market. So far this season, their wide receivers are averaging 6.3 catches per game. There are 4 receivers by themselves who average more than that. Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Jamar Chase. So the Pittsburgh Steelers need somebody else to take the pressure off DK Metcalf. They had that guy, as you pointed out in the first hour, George Pickens.
Right.
They were done with him. Obviously, they wanted him shipped out, and they sent him to Dallas. But they need somebody else that can help make plays, help step in, and help this offense become more dangerous and multifaceted than it's been in the early part of the season.
And this is a critical game. To wrap it all up for this portion of the conversation, we could talk all we want about Rodgers, and that's a big deal, and that's the storyline here. But, Will, you made one of your predictions in one of your features earlier this morning. If you're right and the Packers beat the Steelers, and all of a sudden Cincinnati is coming up on the outside with Joe Flacco, the Ravens maybe get Lamar Jackson picked this week. We're still watching for that. Maybe they start coming. The Steelers need this game, or the division is 100% in play.
Yeah, I kind of think this is a must-win for the Steelers because it's like the Bengals play the Jets. They're going to beat the Jets. If the Ravens come alive, like this is their spot to get back on track, they're going to have to go on a run. But if the Ravens take care of business against the Bears, Bengals beat the Jets, this is absolutely a must-win situation for the Steelers because it's been their division to lose, and you drop 2 in a row, especially if you play bad defensively, the door's going to get blown open on the AFC North.
Again, this is a Sunday night game, so these games will have been played. Those results will already be in. Shams is going to join us in just a couple of minutes with the very latest on this breaking news with 2 different people from the NBA arrested in a gambling probe. We'll get you all the details coming up in just a few moments, plus more football as we go as well. A.J. Brown missing practice yesterday. Will he be out against the Giants on Sunday? Why Philly could be in real trouble despite their gaudy record. We'll explain as we roll on. You're watching Get Up on ESPN.